The Drip Network. What a ride has it been? I decided to make this video not to FUD, not to sound bearish, but just to address a few things in regards to the actual numbers behind the current status. Many people, and I mean many people on YouTube specifically, speak about price predictions, speak about upcoming things, talk about the bullishness behind what's coming up, but numbers don't lie, right? So not only the tokenomics are being butchered, nothing is being done. Let's be honest, let's just face the music. This is what it is. An asset would not drop 99.78%, I don't know what is it right now, if everything is going well. There's something not quite okay happening in the background, and that's basically the baseline of this video, right? So talking about the structure, talking about all the things that are being addressed, and perhaps make a conclusion as to why I personally think, again, this is my personal opinion, and I'm very happy to be proven wrong, that we will most probably never see the price of even $1 ever again if this persists. Now, starting things off, in order for us to understand why we are where we are today, we need to see the current health status of the faucet. And that is something that I'm looking at, straight away when I want to assess how we're doing. Claim ratio, hydrate ratio, deposit ratio, all of that. And we're going to average that and make speculative, that are actuals, meaning they are based on real math, and projections a year from now to see how all of this will unveil, right? So taking a look at this, we can clearly see right now that we have about 120-ish million in regards to faucet obligations. So that can be determined if you go on Dune Analytics. You can see how many drip tokens are visible in the dashboard of the faucet that are owed to investors in regard to that 1% a day, correct? Now let's move a bit forward. Like currently, the situation is not looking so good, but let's push it till the end of 2023 to see how those obligations are gonna perform. Now, I did take 2 months as an example, just to see how much the faucet obligations are growing on a daily basis on average again, and project this until the end of 2023. And currently we are growing at 0.7% every single day. So the whole block of faucet obligations is pushing 0.7% forward every single day. So we're using that, by the end of 2023 we'll be at 1.1 billion in faucet obligations. Now I know many people will say they will be max wallet, so those are not earning anymore, blah blah. I agree, so I took this into consideration in my calculations as well. So that 1.1 billion includes those max wallets that are removed out of the equation, because following that process, 1% of those dashboard faucet drips will be producing 11 million a day. So that amount of production is higher than our current total supply, which is infinitely minting as we speak. And we're gonna look at our current supply shortly. So 11 million a day at the current price right now of $0.32, so 32 cents, that's more than 350k of potential sell pressure per day, which is not something that we can even envision right now. If the price drops from 32 cents to 1 cent, so $0.01 only, we're still at 110k of potential sell pressure, which is absolutely insane. All right, that's a bit too much. Actually, scratch that. I did a small error in math previously. It's not actually 350k, it's more like 3.5 million. All right, so which is even worse, right? So at 1 cent we are at 110k in potential sell pressure. Just to put in perspective, we are currently having a buy pressure of around 25k, which is not gonna increase anytime soon. So we need 4 times this buy pressure to offset the potential sell pressure in 2023 at the price of 1 cent, regarding a non-increasing and a stable price there. So, right, so our faucet situation is not looking healthy at all if I project it a bit forward. Now let's shift the paradigm, because also you hear people say price doesn't matter, you get 1% a day, keep hydrating, you'll make up for it at some point. Okay, so let's look at if this is actually something that is true, right? So let's look at statistic real quick. If we want to go back and judge if my 1% is offsetting the price decrease, right? Because the price is actually decreasing every single day, and you're gonna see how it's performing, unfortunately. So you have a situation where the price is pulling down from 40 to 64% on a monthly basis in average. And I actually made the calculation based on several factors. So I did put in the average every 5 days, going back a few months back, and getting this interval, between 40 to 64%. So on a monthly basis, you earn about, in drip, a bit more than 30%, accounting compounding. So at 1% a day, statically the 30%, but we both know if you compound, you'll most probably push that a bit higher. So even then, you are still with that 30+% of additional drip that you're earning, you're not offsetting the price drop that we're currently incurring. So that is the second myth debunked in a way, right? So nothing has changed. Price drops more than that additional 1% that you're getting, which also adds an exponential inflation part, because if I go to my drip token total supply, we're at 7.7 million, which is more than 7 times the original total supply. So you have an ever increasing inflation, which incurs a higher price drop as we move forward, which incurs more drips being minted to pay out those ever-ending exponential obligation growth. And you see how the cycle is. And this is what I call a death spiral, unfortunately. Okay, now that we have the health situation and tokenomics out of the way, let's talk a bit about those upcoming new utilities that everyone is hinting, including the founder himself and the team. So we've been, hearing stuff about a new drip user interface, scratches, which is some sort of gambling protocol, whatever. They're building some lottery on top of drip, but that's something that utilizes drip. And that's something that will be done by the by community members, basically, amongst lending and borrowing, amongst other things that are in play as well. Fiat on ramp, that's another thing. So these things that are being discussed for a year now, and none of them has been implemented thus far, are having the community in a hopium state where they think that those things are gonna push the price into new highs, because they will create buybacks, they will make people hold their drip for some reason, I don't know, utilize drip in some way. So let's quickly dissect how these things, in my personal opinion, will have zero effect on the whole situation here, or perhaps a slightly short-term effect. So quickly talking about the user interface, which is something that is a bit absurd, to be honest. 1 year has passed since this has been announced and nothing has been implemented, even though the animal farm actually has a new user interface within a shorter time frame, which leads me to believe that there's not much effort in regards to drip. So many promises, zero delivery. But that's a topic for another video, right? So a new user interface will not increase the price, ladies and gentlemen. A user interface just facilitates how a person interacts with the DApp or with the website. So they could make it easier, they could make it more attractive for people to look at, perhaps add more metrics, remove some of the outdated nonsense that you can see right now on the drip.community website, specifically the low risk factor. That's a bit funny, so to speak. And when it comes to a timeline as to how much a new user interface would take time to be implemented, created, designed, all of that, let's quickly look at averages, in a normal industry, in the real world. So in the real world, if you want to do a new user interface, you need up to 4 weeks in regards to design, up to 10 weeks in regards to development, and up to 8 weeks in regard to front-end development. I'm gonna leave the back-end development out of this because we have the back-end already, and that's our contract on the blockchain. So you just have to shift that. But let's assume you need the maximum amount of time to develop these things. So if you add them up, that's about 22 weeks, correct? 22 weeks, so that's about 5 months, so to speak. It's been a year. So even let's assume that it's gonna take 5 months to do all of this, even though apparently the UI, the shape of the UI was hinted already, which is something that we've seen. And so that will take the design out of that. So we have, I don't know, about 3 to 4 months to do the development part of it, which is also there, so to speak. Meaning from a time perspective, it makes 0 sense. So UI aside, jumping into the gambling part of the utility portion that everyone also is being driven by, which are scratches, casino, blah, blah, blah. So all of these are not going to do anything in regards to the actual infrastructure. They're just going to add potential buy pressure, which is always something that will be short-lived and is not sustainable. I mean, even the biggest casinos, the crypto casinos, are doing like 10,000 daily profits. So revenue-wise, they're doing what? Like 50, 60K perhaps? So the amount of money that people are envisioning in regards to these buybacks is a bit absurd. And even if we pull out, let's say 100 BNB daily buybacks, just look at how many drip tokens are sitting liquid-wise in wallets. So any pressure on the upside will immediately get eaten and destroyed. So buybacks are not the solution because buybacks will not make people hold their drip, just sell it at a slightly higher price. So far we have nothing that would make people hold their drip. Now even the fiat on-ramp, which is something, by the way, that has been created by other similar ROI dApps, to name a few, and I'm gonna right now pull the charts of these ROI dApps to see if that had any effect on their price. And look at those horrendous charts, right? So they've fallen from grace, lower than their pre-sale price, which is currently drip situation as well. So fiat on-ramp just makes it seem and makes it easier for new people to buy that token. But if you don't want to buy that token, if you don't care about this token, why would you? Just think about it for a sec. If people actually cared to buy drip, wouldn't they take the time to study how to buy it for, I don't know, an hour or 2 or 3 maybe? So wouldn't they make the effort to do so, to actually buy it? Why would they wait a year and more to buy an asset? Well, they can spend a few hours learning how to do so and buy it today if they really want to get this asset, or ask their friend, their colleague, their family member. Doesn't make sense, correct? Before I actually talk about what actual utility means, what actual utility represents in regards to making people hold their assets instead of just selling them to the next guy. Now, lending is perhaps the only real utility that I would consider as such. And I also spoke about this, but I don't even see how this could be implemented in Drip, to be honest. Lending is using something as collateral to borrow more assets to utilize elsewhere and then repay or get liquidated if the price of your entry when you collateralize your asset gets lower, and then your loan will get liquidated or your collateral will get liquidated. So how would this be implemented here? Would you be able to borrow on your faucet a specific amount, and then would the protocol liquidate your faucet if the price of drip falls below a certain price? Now, this could be something, but remember that Furio implemented this and nobody actually used it. What it means is, yes, you can leverage this in a way. And for example, if one has to forfeit their faucet, perhaps that drip would be removed from the obligations, which is, a bit better from a health-wise perspective. But why would people use it? I'm not sure. I mean, Furio had it, no, not many used it. People have opted in regards to, for example, selling deferred token versus just, borrowing against it. And you might argue that at this price point, perhaps borrowing is the best solution. Yeah, maybe I agree. Maybe I have 2K in my faucet. Maybe I would borrow against it, perhaps. But if everyone is speaking about an increase in price and this were to happen, then I would just sell my drip. I'm not gonna borrow and take the risk. Because it is a very high inflationary and risky asset. Keep that in mind. So, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, this would be perhaps the last thing that will happen if a new UI hasn't come up yet. I don't see this happening before 4 years. And I'm not gonna get into the fact that so many AMAs have been talked about, because I've been told, please listen to this AMA. This is nonsense, all right? Like, you can listen as much as you'd like. If nothing comes into play, if nothing actually happens, all of this is just a waste of time and, a waste of precious attention. So, I mean, I'm not gonna get into it. I'll see it, or I'll believe it when I see it, so to speak. And to speak about real utility, like, just remember, just to name a few, Bitcoin has its own blockchain. It's a digital store of value. It's used as a peer-to-peer cash. It's borderless. It's decentralized. It's trustless, limitless. So all of these is scarce, has a max supply. So this is why people hold tokens, because of those actual types of utilities. Moving on to smart contracts like Ethereum, the leader right now. Again, on blockchain. You needed to transact on this blockchain in regards to smart contract operability. dApps that are being built. There's a whole economy on ETH. You need it as a collateral. You need it as an asset to borrow against on any dApp on Ethereum. So there's so much more to utility than whatever you see. And if we want to talk DeFi, Aave is a big example, an OG in the space, because many people refer Drip to a DeFi protocol, and that's certainly completely incorrect. It's nothing even close to DeFi. What actual DeFi means, it's just a game. It's just an inflationary game that you would play with risk capital and see where you end up. I mean, owning Aave gives you on-chain governance, you'll be able to actually lend and borrow. It's right there. It's interoperable with other dApps as well. So they have so much stuff going on. In the real DeFi space, a dApp has to produce revenues from usage within it and then distribute it to liquidity providers, not people giving money to each other. That's not DeFi, all right? And this leads me to my conclusion at the end of the day. I'm not here to FUD, I'm not here to speak negatively, but this is what the situation is about. If you want to lead people into entering Drip right now, I don't think it's a very good idea. In my personal opinion, now the risk is too high. If things turn around, maybe, but currently it's too risky to enter Drip. It's dropping every single day. Inflation is running rampant. There's nothing coming up for Drip, or there's nothing that has been implemented, because there has been things that were in talks already. So there's a line here, and you shouldn't cross it in regards to chilling it too much. Wait for things to happen if they were to happen, all right? So with that, I really hope you stuck around till the end. I just wanted to make a point. I just wanted to show what the current situation is. Thank you. See you in the next one. Have a good one.